Hello, third graders. In our reading lesson today, we're going to continue looking at context clues. Now, we looked at context clues on Monday, and we learned that you can use definition and synonyms to help you understand unknown words. So you can look inside the sentences or sentences around it and find those to help you define the words. Today, we're going to look at two new ones. The first one we are going to look at are antonyms inside a sentence. Now, antonyms mean the opposite. Antonyms mean the opposite. So for our first one, we're going to read through it using the strategy of saying blank when we come to an unknown word and looking for an antonym, a word that means the opposite. The pitcher of water was inert. I meant to say blank. I'll try again. The pitcher of water was blank until someone dumped the table and the water swayed back and forth. So it was something, but then it was something else. So inert. Inert means the opposite of swaying back and forth. So the opposite of swayed would be still. So the antonym clues tell me that inert means that it is still. Number 2, Connor was often blank, but not today. Now, when we looked at synonyms, we looked at the conjunction and. Now, for antonyms, we can look at the conjunction but, because normally after they put the comma in conjunction, it'll tell you the opposite of what the word before it means. Today, he arrived to school in a very quiet and serious mood. So we're looking what mirthful means. What mirthful means. So he's often mirthful, whatever that means, but not today. And today he is in a very quiet and serious mood. So normally, if he's not quiet and serious, the opposite of quiet and serious would probably be happy or excited or jovial. So the antonym would be quiet and serious. Tells me that mirthful means happy or jovial. Jovial means extra happy or cheerful. Number 3, the lunches at my school were blank. To the higher quality meals I now get at my new school. So the opposite of high quality would be low quality, right? So the opposite of high quality would be low quality. So maybe that means at our old school. Oh, I read that wrong. My lunches at my school were inferior to the higher quality meals I now get at my new school. So at her new school, she's getting good meals, and at her old school, she got inferior ones, which were low quality. So we are now at 3, definition, synonym, antonym. Now we're at inference. And you might not know this, but you use inferences all the time when you are trying to make connections. So inferences is when you think about the words and you make a connection with those words, okay? So let's go ahead and read the first one. Small twigs and branches were piled into the fire pit and used to blank the fire. Now I'm going to use what I know about fires, my inferences, and I know that if it's used to blank the fire, it might be used to start the fire. So kindle means to start. Let's try that with the second one. The principal was expecting the student to be blank for her rude behavior, but she refused to apologize for it. Okay, so I'm thinking, if the principal was expecting the student to be something for their rude behavior, but she refused to apologize for it, what could that mean? They refused to apologize, so that means the principal probably expected the student to be sorry for their behavior, but they weren't. They didn't even apologize. So contrite means sorry. I was finally able to blank my brother to clean my room for me, promising to play with him if I did. So if she finally blank her brother, maybe that was to trick her brother into cleaning her room, and then promise to play with him, coax, or maybe to ask. I'm using all of my inferences, things that I have experienced, to help me with this question. To trick or ask. Go ahead and write all of these down inside your class kick. And on this second page, you will go through and look at other words that might match up different antonyms, highlighting our antonyms in the sentences. For our inferences, you do not have to highlight anything because that is what's coming from your head. Now at the bottom, we are going to look at one from Monday and one from today, antonyms and definitions. And we're going to try to figure out what the best way is to find the meaning of these words. We'll do one together. So we might do two together, and then you'll do two on your own. Let's do number one. Compared to her last tiny house, her new house seems blank. So it's comparing, okay, how her tiny house used to be. Her new house is very different. It's very different than her tiny house. So that is the opposite, right? It's talking about the opposite. So the context clue we are using, antonym means opposite, is the antonym. And if I know if it was tiny, then the new house must be large. So massive means large, and maybe you already knew that. I'm going to highlight my evidence for that one. My antonym is tiny. Number two, unlike the slow-moving creek near the park, this river had a swift current. So it said unlike. So I'm thinking it might be the opposite. That's actually all I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you that clue and think about what word means the opposite, and you'll write down what context clue you use, either antonym or definition. Highlight your evidence and write the definition on the first line. Let's do number three. The two squirrels seemed to frolic as they ran up the tree. Frolic means to play in a fun way. It tells us the definition right there. It means to play in a fun way. It told us the definition, so my context clue I used was the definition. And I highlighted it, and now I can write down the definition. To play in a fun way. After you make sure that you have written down everything that we've done in this video, you can complete number 2 and number 4.